Melchizedek's priesthood, a prefiguration of Christ. Genesis 14:18-20, and the dual role of king and high priest. The brief yet profound encounter between Abraham and Melchizedek in Genesis 14:18-20 represents one of the most enigmatic and theologically significant passages in the Old Testament. This mysterious figure, appearing suddenly in the narrative and disappearing just as quickly, serves as a powerful prefiguration of Jesus Christ's dual role as both king and high priest, a concept that would later be fully developed in the New Testament, particularly in the book of Hebrews. The meeting between Abraham and Melchizedek occurs immediately after Abraham's victorious rescue of his nephew Lot from the coalition of kings who had captured him. As Abraham returns from this military triumph, he encounters Melchizedek, who is described as King of Salem and Priest of God Most High, El Elyon. This dual title immediately sets Melchizedek apart from other biblical figures, as the combination of royal and priestly functions was extraordinary in ancient Near Eastern culture. Salem, traditionally identified with Jerusalem, was already a significant city in Abraham's time. The fact that Melchizedek ruled over this city-state while simultaneously serving as a priest of the Most High God establishes him as a figure of immense authority and spiritual significance. His emergence at this crucial moment in Abraham's journey is not coincidental, but divinely orchestrated to reveal profound truths about God's eternal plan. Melchizedek's priestly role is immediately evident in his actions. He brings forth bread and wine elements that would later become central to Christian worship and blesses Abraham in the name of God Most High. This blessing is not merely ceremonial but carries the weight of divine authority. The Hebrew text emphasizes that Melchizedek blessed Abraham by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, indicating his role as a mediator between the divine and human realms. The significance of this priestly blessing cannot be overstated. Abraham, who had just demonstrated his faith and courage in rescuing Lot, receives divine affirmation through Melchizedek's words. This blessing acknowledges both God's deliverance and Abraham's righteousness, establishing a pattern of divine human interaction that would characterize the priestly function throughout biblical history. The offering of bread and wine by Melchizedek has been interpreted by Christian theologians as a prefiguration of the Eucharist. These elements, symbolic of sustenance and celebration, represent God's provision and the joy of fellowship with the divine. In this context, Melchizedek serves as a type of Christ, offering spiritual nourishment to God's people. Melchizedek's royal status as King of Salem establishes him as a legitimate ruler with temporal authority. However, his kingship is distinctive because it is characterized by righteousness and peace. The name Melchizedek itself means King of Righteousness, while Salem means peace. This combination of righteousness and peace in his very identity points forward to the messianic ideal of a ruler who would govern with perfect justice and establish eternal peace. Unlike earthly monarchs who often ruled through force and oppression, Melchizedek's kingship appears to be based on spiritual authority and divine appointment. His interaction with Abraham demonstrates respect for God's chosen servant while maintaining his own royal dignity. This balance between humility and authority prefigures the nature of Christ's kingship, which would be characterized by servant leadership and sacrificial love. Abraham's response to Melchizedek is equally significant. He gives him a tenth of everything, establishing the principle of tithing that would later become central to Israelite worship. This act of giving represents more than a simple transaction. It acknowledges Melchizedek's superior spiritual authority and legitimizes his dual role as king and priest. The author of Hebrews later emphasizes this point, noting that Abraham, through whom the Levitical priesthood would come, paid tithes to Melchizedek. This demonstrates that Melchizedek's priesthood was superior to the Levitical system, pointing to an eternal priesthood that transcends tribal and genealogical limitations. The theological significance of Melchizedek extends far beyond his historical appearance. His unique combination of royal and priestly functions challenges the traditional separation of these roles that characterized most ancient societies. In Israel, the kingship was typically associated with the tribe of Judah. This prefiguration finds its ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ, who is described in Hebrews as a priest after the order of Melchizedek. Unlike the Levitical priests who served temporarily and were replaced by death, Christ's priesthood is eternal and unchanging. His royal heritage through David's line and his priestly ministry through his sacrificial death and resurrection demonstrate the perfect union of the two offices that Melchizedek foreshadowed. The New Testament writers, particularly the author of Hebrews, draw extensive parallels between Melchizedek and Christ. Both appear without genealogical pedigree in their respective narratives, suggesting their transcendence of ordinary human limitations. Both combine royal and priestly functions, and both are associated with righteousness and peace. Christ's ministry perfectly embodies the dual nature prefigured by Melchizedek. As king, he exercises divine authority over all creation, establishing God's kingdom through his teaching, miracles, and ultimate victory over sin and death. As high priest, he offers himself as the perfect sacrifice, mediating between God and humanity, and providing eternal redemption for all who believe. The figure of Melchizedek continues to speak to contemporary believers about the nature of true leadership and spiritual authority. His example demonstrates that legitimate authority combines both temporal effectiveness and spiritual authenticity. Leaders who would serve God's purposes must embody both the righteousness of the priest and the wisdom of the king. Furthermore, Melchizedek's blessing of Abraham reminds us that